All right, this is continuing on from part 2 of my unboxing and reveal of all the cards from the Gambler's Chest. So this is the hit locations for the Smog Singers again. There we go. What do we got? Back of head, downy belly, downy cheek, downy gut holding hand, downy throat, flat nose, fleshy forearms, floating back ribs, loving eye. I like that. If you have 7+ guilt tokens, gain +2 luck to wound this location. Critical wound, gain 1 random resource. If you have 3+ guilt tokens, full move towards the monster. If adjacent, you rip out its eye, stalk, and all. All other survivors gain a guilt token from your ruthless grasping. Then archive this hit location and inflict an additional wound for every 3 guilt tokens you have. This is such a interesting monster. It just makes you feel bad, but you want all that good stuff. Smoggy liver, and it seems like the guilt. I think when you fight this monster, you have to have the guilt. But also, if you get too much of the guilt, or you have too much guilt at the wrong point, or not enough guilt at the wrong point, you can die. So there's that. So here's hit locations for the king. Here. Nice big stack. Chain of Silence. I like how the different monsters, the hit locations, have a different look to them. So the Smog Singers have these pictures on them. I mean, there might be somewhat pictures on them. They're not all the same. They have sort of a system influence. So majestic gut. Failure. Perform ghost geometry targeting the attacker they dominated. You strike the monster's center. If there are any catabolism energy in play, it violently exhales the stale air of the labyrinth and suffers an additional wound. Inflorescence. The king harnesses energy to build within itself. Discard 1 energy card and archive this. Replace this with a random labyrinth location. The monster puts its corresponding labyrinth token in play. Then roll to wound the location instead. This is all very weird. Dark Forest. Labyrinth location. Your attack is caught in this grasping tangled bows of death. Set your survival equal to the survivor with the least survival. Fireplace. The attacker gains +2 strength tokens and a catalyze survivor status. Then they suffer +2 hits for 4 damage. Jeez. Critical wound. The fireplace ignites. Any survivors inside Kingdom Death within 3 spaces of the fireplace suffer 10 damage. So this guy's no pushover either. So the king has been around since the very first Kickstarter. We've seen his sculpts, but they were going to do this expansion called the Lantern Festival, and they just couldn't get it right. They needed more time and more work, and so they canceled it and refunded everybody who had pre-bought it. But then in the making of the the Gambler's Chest, they seem to have redone. They're satisfied with the king, so the king is in the Gambler's Chest, which is pretty cool. This is for the God Hand, so his hit locations, I'm guessing, are impossible. Exotic fur girdle. The God Hand waves your blow away with a piteous swap. Despondent, you flail and are knocked down. End all attacks and draw an AR. Critical wound. Your strike penetrates the monster's girdle. It falters for a moment to recover. Its vulnerability gives you hope. Gain +1d10 survival and +5 strength. Archive this card. Exotic Poet's Blouse, Exotic Rib Plate, Exotic Silk Pantaloons, Gilded Codpiece. Super dense. Perform True Ghost Step, targeting the attacker. The God Hand slices at the attacking survivor's hand. The survivor must prevail or suffer the dismembered arm severe injury. They suffer it twice if attacking with a 2-handed weapon. So you, okay, chops your arms off. The God Hand is knocked down if you're successful. Its joints locked in shuddering indecision. Ignore Godspeed and all reactions for the rest of the attack. Okay. Good to know. Gilded Silk Cape. Super dense impervious. Suffer 5 brain damage if you have 0 insanity. You are no longer insane enough to survive. Suffer the decapitation, severe head injury. So I think your head explodes. Handed spine saber sheath. Decapitation. That's the trap. Ooh, I think this guy really likes to chop people's heads off. Okay, continuing on. Let's look at these funny cards. They're a slightly different size than the standard cards. So what are these? So these, we've got these numbered ones. There's different ones. But first we've got these numbered cards. Faces of Existence. Attain Tier 1 philosophies. When you attain a philosophy, they become available in your campaign. Return the first meal to build the starting philosophy deck. So this is the philosophy deck, I guess. Or is it a cooking deck? Oh, it seems to be to do with food. Screaming. So it's like, this is a new thing. It's all like each monster, you can learn how to cook them. That's really cool. All right. And then what have we got here? Knowledge. Are these all knowledge cards? Looks like yes. So the knowledge cards are a different shape than most of the other cards. All for one. So this is another new thing. You can gain knowledge. With their permission, you can spend other survivors' survival as though it were your own, limit once per round. So you basically changes the rules of the game when you gain these things. Oh my god. And you can upgrade them. So like you, all for 1, all for 1, 2, all for 1, 3. So if you upgrade your knowledge of all for 1 to the highest level, with their permission, you can spend other survivors' survival as though it were your own. You spend their survival gain +1. I don't know what that means. Seems like it doesn't really improve. But Legion 3 goes from a theory, where nothing happens, all the way to you gain strength equal to the number of survivors with Legion on the showdown board. Sweet. Appreciation. Digestion. Gastromancer. Health. Juggernaut 1, 2. Where's Juggernaut 3? Oh, it's only 2. Believe in yourself 1, 2, and 3. This is cool. Like it basically all this stuff adds a very customized character to your game and your settlement and the characters that you're playing. So each time you play this game, there's just no way that it's going to be the same. Mirror Eye. So this is, yeah. Chosen 1, 2, and 3. You cannot bear to face the truth. You may record a permanent injury you do not already have to erase an observation from another knowledge you possess. Interesting. Fortune and misfortune. Those are cool. So this all sort of comes into the advanced rules of the game. So that doesn't fit there. So I'll just put it here. So you can, if you've played this game enough, and you can start then integrating these advanced rules, and it just adds a lot of depth to the game, because a lot of people have played this game many times over, and they've gone through all the expansions and played all these different campaigns, and this is some much needed new stuff for them. So what is this? AI cards for the Smog Singers. More AI cards. So every monster has tons of AI cards available, which is awesome. And then each time you build the deck, it's a bit random. Like you have a certain amount of the types of cards. So you have a certain amount of A's, a certain amount of B's, a certain amount of zeros and L's, and then you put that in the deck, and then so each time you fight that monster, it's not necessarily going to be the same as the last time you fought that monster, even if you fight the same level monster. What are these? Terrain. We've already talked about terrain. What are these? pictures of the god. What is it? No, the king with some what looks like infinity stones on it. Obviously, they're not. Catabolism, energy. These are energies. Creation, death. What is catabolism? When this is drawn, a random survivor without the catalyzed survivor status card gains it and +2 strength tokens. Creation. When this is drawn, the survivor furthest from the king suffers +2 brain damage. When this is drawn, the survivor with the most survival loses +2 survival. That's all part of fighting this guy, the king. Here's his AI deck, more of his AI deck. So these are, again, or maybe we wouldn't looked at his AI deck before, but these are the things that he does when he takes an action. Glance down, metabolic fire. These cards determine the way that the king fights you or attacks you. Place all your attribute tokens on this card. They continue to affect you. At the start of your act, your body burns. Archive a token from this card and suffer 4 damage to a random hit location. If there are no tokens on this card, archive it. Half power. King's new clothes. King's presence. Unbound. Cool. Oh my goodness. It is a shocking amount of cards in this game. But, you know, on the plus side, you generally don't use all of them. You have them in your box, and as you proceed through the game, you take out a few of them, and you put them in that little box there to sort of keep track of them when you're doing a settlement, which is a really cool inclusion with this. Character cards, more character cards. So these again go with the what do you call it? Narrative sculpts that come with this game. Disorderly, out of sync. Oh, maybe they don't. The adventurer, he does. The axe, they do. Berserker, the bow, the bright knives, the bright side, the clever. After everyone is placed, you may reposition yourself anywhere on the showdown board. It's neat. Like when you make one of these characters, they have like sort of a defining. The gatherer. On arrival, gain 1 strange resource, fresh acanthus. Very cool. The lonely. The mad. And here's some basic resources. So these are generic resources. A bone, a leather, an organ that you can find. They're the most common things that you'll find when you're butchering a monster that you have defeated. And these ones with a P stands for patterns. This is another new thing from the game. I think I've spoken a bit about this already, but this is a particular weapon, the Blood Drinker. It's a type of axe. You need that. You need these things to be able to make that. And cool. Cruel Cleaver. So, I mean, these things are neat. They're hard to make. Like you have to play the game. You have to put a lot of hours into this game before you can get some of these weapons. But it's a cool thing. It gives you, a goal. So these green cards I haven't seen before. These have to do with the hunt. These are just, it's just pictures of these guys. Interesting. These are the bone eaters that can attack you. The hunt encounters. And I'm not sure what you use those cards for. They don't have any text on them. Song. Spend something to unlock your heart and start singing. Flip this card. Off key. So these are to do with the Smog Singers. A song of seething. A song of shame. When this is turned face up, remove all your guilt tokens. Cool. I think fighting these Smog Singers will actually be a really interesting battle. Seed patterns. More patterns. More patterns. This is a big part of this game now. If you're doing the advanced rules, is these patterns and being able to make particular items through a combination of your locations, your innovations, your knowledge, I think, all combines to be able to make these sort of unique items that can make the difference in your next battle. Some of those new unique items are extremely powerful, and that's neat. Like, you can't just get things. All right, so here's some more knowledge cards. There's even more of these. And what are these things? They have a bunch of brains in a heads in a circle. Homicidalism. Meroism. So these are the philosophies. Deadism, Theism, and those go along with these things. See, homicidalism. So you get this card, you get that book, you go through the book to discover what it means to have this new philosophy. And when you have a philosophy, I believe that creates some benefits, but it also creates some concerning side effects or things that can be a problem for your character. Everything in this game tends to be a bit of good and a bit of bad. So these are more of those. So there's heaps of these knowledge things, which I think is really cool. So you can't do all of them. You might, I reckon in this game you'll probably do less than 10 in a campaign of these knowledge trees, and then it's up to you to push them up from level 1 to level 3. Dark Impulse. So that's a bit murdery. You are the ultimate provider. All must support your heroism. While adjacent to another survivor, you may spend 1 survival to murder them. When you kill another survivor, gain all their positive attributes. So that sounds horrible. That's really useful, because if you've got a weak old survivor in your group that's going to die, because they die of old age, and they can also be like, partially dismembered, like they become really blind, just not good on a hunt. You got a nice young guy with this Dark Impulse, you can murder that guy and transfer all of his abilities to a strong young survivor. Oh, that's horrific. Void, Marrow Monarch, Osteophage. She's crazy, eating people's bones. That's not good. You may archive a bone resource to consume it. If you do, heal your survivor, limit once per Lanternier. When you depart with no armor and no shield in your grid, add 6 to all hit locations. That's kind of cool. Stone Skin, Surgical Precision. It doesn't. Interesting. Eudaimonia, Fortis Fortuna, Freedom, Imagination, Potentia Est 1, Potentia Est 2. Interesting. I don't know what it means. That's okay. I'll figure it out. More knowledge cards. There's quite a lot of these. So this is a big part of the advanced rules for this game. Like, this is why this game is like 6 years. This expansion is like 6 years overdue. Is because they were trying to develop this huge stack of cards, and it's not just the cards, it's the way that they integrate with the rest of the game. You've got these, you've got the innovations, which aren't new, but they're a bit more interactive. You've got those pattern cards, that pattern system. All this integrates to make your game experience completely unique each time. All right, so I've got about a minute left before I'm going to stop this one and start on part 4. Are we up to part 4 now? We're getting there, though. Death Collector. The artwork in this game is just so good. It's what drew me in. I didn't know anything about Kingdom Death. They did their second Kickstarter. I saw this picture of the what is it? It's like a goat. I forget what it's called. But it was just like this model was so cool, and I just got drawn into all of this stuff, and I was like, this game is nuts. Gotta have it. All right, I'm just gonna stop here, and we'll start again with another 20 minutes. So this is part 3 ending. We'll continue on in part 4. So check out part 4, which I'll upload soon.